All right, so good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Really glad you're here today. I deeply appreciate you being here, Paula. Thanks for joining us as our guest.
Thank you.
We're going to be in webinar format, guys. And again, I just do this so that we have a high quality recording. So please do introduce yourselves on chat. And briefly, let me just tell you what Purse Power is about. Purse Power is working to help women use their massive purchasing power to drive positive change. Women make 80% of all purchasing decisions. We believe that if women would choose to buy from the companies that actively promote women, the companies that are women-owned or women-led, and we could create a funding stream for battered women's shelters in the process, we could shatter glass ceilings and change lives. So that's what we're trying to do with Purse Power. The purpose of the calls, we're just trying to connect you with each other and with us, and bring in some national experts to talk about their experiences and just help us all through this time of COVID. I want to shout out anybody who's joining us as a guest, and let's go ahead and get into the meeting. So you guys, again, as always, please save your questions, and we'll do it through the Q&A in just a minute. And let me go ahead and introduce Paula. So Paula has significantly grown Bama during her 3+ decades as a CEO. And she is hailed as a leader in the baking industry and has been recognized by the United States Department of Commerce as a winner of the prestigious Malcolm Baldrige Award for Quality. That is not an easy award to get either, is it? You really got to work for that. Congratulations. You're also the first manufacturer in Oklahoma, at least, to be a B Corp, to get
That's
B Corp
correct,
certification. Yes, very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
She's a native of Tulsa, and you got your Bachelor of Science in Business and a Master's degree in Communication and your doctorate of Commercial Science from OCU.
Yes.
Congratulations. Oh, that's wonderful. Going for your doctorate. You're smart. You must be very, very smart.
A little crazy.
Or very, very smart, probably. Okay. All right. To start, people are just interested in learning about you and your backstory, how you got here in terms of your life and career, and when you officially became the CEO and how that happened of Bama Companies.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that because it wasn't a plan. I can tell you that. I was the only girl. I was the young daughter, and I was not expected to go into business, first of all. I was not expected to run the company. And I honestly think over the years that actually helped me, because I didn't have all those expectations put on me from, just people around, like what I saw happening to my brothers. So my brothers they weren't able to throw off the expectation that they were going to take over. And I think it created a lot of stress for them. And so my dad was also a very high stress guy. So one of the things that we did not plan on, we never expected it to happen, and that was that my father was going to have a heart attack in 1989, and my brother was going to have a heart attack 6 months later.
Oh my gosh.
So both of them went down in the hospital, and in those early 90s, they put people in the hospital for weeks. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but it was very common to be in the hospital for 4 weeks or 5 weeks while they watched you and medicated you. And then both my brother and my father ended up having bypass surgery. So for a period of months, they were basically both incapacitated for a number of weeks and months. And during that time, my mom and I kind of banded together and said, okay, we're going to keep the company together and we're going to do everything we can to keep it going. And we just went to work every day. And unfortunately, the McDonald's guys got wind that my father had been sick and my brother was sick when they didn't see him, like they had been seeing him. And they called my mom and they wanted to know what was going on. And they actually flew down and they expressed their concern about, me. I was 27 or 28 at the time. And I was very young, very green. And they expressed their dismay to my mother and said that they would like to, when my dad got better, they would like to come down and talk about us selling the Bama companies to someone else. So that was a very hard time for me and for her because we thought we were going to lose the thing that we had both been fighting for. And my mom determined, and she went to my dad, and they determined that I was going to they were going to put me in charge and I was going to get to stay at Bama and keep Bama. Unfortunately, the other guys had some other ideas. And when it came right down to it, my dad just told them, I'm not selling the company. I'm going to put my daughter in charge. She's going to, take this company and she's going to run it, and we're all going to be better for it. And so they went off and thought about that for a while. And they came back with a proposal to my dad and me and my mom that Bama become a woman-owned business, that we go and get certified, and that he would turn over his shares to my mom and I so that we would control 51% of the company. Never in my life did I ever believe that would happen. Did I ever expect that to happen? Did I ever think that was going to happen? When it was happening, I remember thinking, wow, what a shock. This is something I never expected. So I really think that it was a destiny thing. It was a God thing. It was something that couldn't have been planned. And I have just been doing my best to run the company with a very open management style and try to take care of our people and take care of our customers. And that's been my mantra for all these years.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you did this very young. We have a few people that have family businesses, and that's a whole nother dynamic. And that's part of what I wanted you to talk about today. So I'd imagine that has pluses and minuses and its own unique challenges. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I find, business owners of all sizes, but especially, where we were pretty much concentrated with one customer. We didn't have any debt on the balance sheet when my dad retired. We were pretty well off. But if you want to grow in life, which most of us do, you need capital. And so, I have almost every day for 30 years, I've had people call and ask to either invest in Bama or go public, or let me be a private equity, or let me be an investment banker and I'll take your company to greater heights. And the problem for me always was that I never wanted to give up control of what I felt like I was destined to do, which was run the company and do it in my way, which was using the philosophies of Dr. W. Edward Deming, putting a systems approach in place, involving people in the process and continuous improvement. And that's when we got on the journey for the Baldrige Award. We spent 10 years from 94 to 2004 pursuing that award. And we never gave up because we felt like our company was something special, and we felt like we did things in a special way. And we wanted to tell the world, how we were doing things. And after that, McDonald's began to recognize some of the things we were doing. We came up with unique approaches, for example, pricing the product in a unique way. We created this philosophy called open book pricing. We do it with all of our customers, and no one can ever believe that we do that. But it creates a bond between you and your customers to be completely open and sit down with them and decide how you can develop common goals and mutual common goals. And you realize you're all on the same page. So our goal was just to make the highest quality product at the lowest possible cost. And I felt like if I took investment capital from someone else, that there might be pressure for me to change my management style. And I didn't want to. I wasn't comfortable with it. So we've grown when we could. We borrowed money when we could. We paid it back always, and then we borrow again and do something else. So we've grown organically with bank debt, and it's just been amazing to see every single thing we've wanted to do. We've been able to do it. I think we were $30 million when I took over. I think this year will be around $400 million.
Whoa! Congratulations! Holy smokes!
It's quite and when I look back on it, it's like, wow, how did we do that? But we did it one step at a time, with customers being in the right places at the right times. And we've built plants and factories with basically on relationships and handshakes and without looking back, because we felt like we made the greatest possible products for the lowest possible cost. And that's how you capture market share.
Absolutely. Wow. So you've got this sense of trust. I've never heard of anybody doing open book pricing before. That's the very first time I've ever heard of that.
That's what we invented that. And we do it with every customer we have now, because it's such a wonderful way to make that connection and make that commitment to the people that we're doing business with. So we're never going to go back and not do it that way. We just believe in it so hard that we're never turning around and doing it any other way.
How could anybody compete with you? I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right. So are you grooming your kids to take over leadership roles in your retirement?
Yes, actually, my daughter, Colleen McCarty, who lives here in Tulsa, just graduated from law school, and she has gone to work in the criminal justice reform area. So she is helping my son, who has joined the company, has been here for about 4 years, graduated from OSU, and he's very excited about what they're going to be able to do together. Colleen's going to be more of a board member and advisor for him, and he's going to actually be, coming up under me and learning all the aspects of the business. So our plan is it's staying in the family and we're staying private. So that is the goal of what we're doing.
What you're trying to do. All right. So I'm a former HR executive, and I know that you get this concern with family-run businesses or own businesses about the careers of the people that are non-family members. Is that a struggle sometimes, and how do you deal with that?
Well, my parents, my mom and dad both had different philosophies. My dad believed every kid should be in the company, and my mom was like, oh gosh, no, we don't want all those headaches. Mm-hmm. And I see families, I talk to families all the time that have a lot of secondary and tertiary shareholders that are kids that are stocks are passed down year after year after year, and they have no energy or excitement about the business that the people are in. So my philosophy has been, if you don't have a passion for Bama, if you don't have a passion for food and our customers and what we do, then you shouldn't work here. Mm-hmm. And so I have a granddaughter that's going to be coming up that wants to do some summer work here. I have a grandson who's done some work here. But for the whole, I don't push them to come into the company. I push them to live with their passion and figure out what their passion is and write their life mission statement and live their mission, live their best life. That's their mission, not mine. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can do that with your kids and you can let go of any of those expectations that you have, like I spoke about earlier, my brothers had heavy expectations, and I think it cost them a lot of, they didn't measure up ever in their eyes or in my dad's eyes. I never had the expectation, so there was nothing for me to measure up to. So I was able to join the company and work in the company and do the things that we've done with my own heart and soul and passion being part of what we do. And so I'm very, very passionate about the people that work at Bama having a passion for what we do. Yeah. And it's so obvious when you even look at your own teammates and you look at your own companies and you look at across, let's say you only have 10 people working there, you can tell the ones who have a passion for what you do and for the ones who are just there because they're just there, taking up space. And mm-hmm. I really work hard to help everyone in the company enjoy what they do, have joy in work, and also to pursue their passion, even if it's not working at Bama, if it's something else. I always tell people, please pursue your passion, because if you're here and you're taking up a spot where somebody who has passion could come in and do something more, then I wouldn't have to, keep kind of constantly giving you all this uplifting praise and saying, come on, let's do it. You would do things on your own. You mm-hmm. wouldn't have to be, I call it browbeaten, Mm-hmm. So if you find those people in your company, and you are going to find them, it's important to try to figure out, what do they want to do? What are their passions in life? What is really going to light a fire within them? Mm-hmm. And let them do it. Let them pursue that.
Mm-hmm. 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 You've got a really special culture. And I know that you recently went for the B Corp certification. I would like you to talk about why you did that and why you feel like that's important.
Yeah, my COO and I were actually both reading online Forbes magazine one Sunday morning, and we both read about the B Corp almost at exactly the same time, and each one of us sent an email to the other one within an hour. We had read everything we could about the B Corp. And he and I talked that afternoon, and we decided it was something that Bama should stand for, because we do a lot of those things. B Corp is short for Benefit Corp and Benefit Corporation. Mm-hmm. And it really is an IRS certification that you can hold, which is basically how do you organize your people? How do you pay them? How do you help them grow in the community? Do you hire people of different socioeconomic backgrounds? What is your process to help people emerge from poverty? It's about doing good in the world. It's about, programs that you put in place that help the community, that business doesn't have to be just a profit generating, always chewing up resources. Business can be a force for good, but we have to plan it. We have to measure it. We have to know we're doing it and why we're doing it, because oftentimes these things aren't easy to do, and they do cost money, and they do take time. So I think if you read the B Corp certification and you go in and you look at the test, you look at the criteria to become a B Corp, there's nothing in there that's not going to make you a better company. It's all going to make you better. It's just about, where do you want to focus your time? Do you want to work on your internal structures? Do you want to work on a volunteerism program so that people can go out in the community and volunteer? Do you want to work on, structuring, flattening your wages across the board? It's a different philosophy. It's a philosophy about be a force for good. And mm-hmm. that could be with your own team members, or it could be with your community, or it could be with your investors or your banks. So it's all about, where can I do good, and where can I maximize the places that I can do good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I always looked at it as having a dual bottom line, both about finances and doing good.
Yes, because the goal of B Corp is not to do so many things that you go out of business. The goal of B Corp is that you grow, but you grow with kind of a sustainability. But when I talk about sustainability, most people think I'm talking about the resources around us, like water, air, the energy systems that we use, and those types of things. But B Corp is an umbrella of many more things, from how we treat people, how we pay people. Sustainability is definitely a part of that, but it's all about being good for the planet and showing people that business can be a force for good.
Absolutely. And a huge force for good. I think that's a move that society is making right now. Do you agree with me in terms of, we're going to support businesses like that from capitalism? Yeah.
Yes. And that's why I love what you're doing, because you're helping women harness their purchasing power to help other women, that are running these businesses that need help.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I listened to your video about your Bama Foundation, and I thought it was wonderful. Really, I was very impressed at how well you take care of your employees. I want to give you a chance to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it starts with the Deming philosophy, which is, we don't rate, rank, measure, or compare people against each other. So our whole pay philosophy is not set up like any traditional, I've had Arthur Anderson in, I've had the whole appraisal system, I've had all the rating and rankings. And when it all comes down to it, those systems are typically demotivators. So they demotivate people. But the business schools teach us that this is not a demotivator, that this is how people need to be motivated. But if you look back behind all these structures, it's fear. They're based off of fear, and they're based off of hanging carrots and incentives. And when I say dance, like in the movies, when I say dance, I mean dance. And that's how I I felt sometimes. That's how people would describe it to me, how they feel when it's time to get their annual merit rating or their annual merit increase, or they get summarized, their whole life gets summarized into a number or a letter or grade. And what I found is people would end up sitting out by the water cooler and just griping and moaning and complaining about these stupid systems. So when I started working with Dr. Deming, his guidance was, well, why don't you take them out? And I said, well, really, Dr. Deming, won't we just all collapse? He goes, you'll be surprised. So in the mid-90s, I took out all of the pay for performance, merit increases, bonuses, all that kind of stuff. And we rolled everything into everyone's base pay. And so then what we did, because what we found was we put these bonus monies out there and we always paid them no matter how well the company did or how well we didn't do. So it really wasn't based on company performance. So we went to externally based pay system, and we pay people, do the analysis every year. We give every single person a pay sheet, and we show them what their job was worth in the market. So we do a market-based pay analysis. And then 4 times a year for our hourly folks, we pay success sharing. And our success sharing is based on profitability of the entire company. So 4 times a year, if we've surpassed several profit targets, we pay out X amount to everyone, and everyone gets the same amount. We also have 2 times a year that we pay our management success sharing, and everyone in that program gets the same amount. So the great thing about this is that it forces us all to quit comparing ourselves to each other and actually give ourselves an opportunity to work as a team and not to fight and have a lot of internal strife going on.
Wow. And I would imagine you attribute some of your success to that. That's fantastic. So
I attribute it all to that.
So do you ever get people frustrated about the differences in performance and how much work they're doing or how hard they're working relative to other people? Does that ever come up?
It was more so when we first put it in the mid-90s, and we've refined it over time. Everyone has an opportunity to be part of the success sharing. So it's not a competitive thing. It creates a true environment of teamwork. And everyone understands, because we post all the financials every quarter. Mm-hmm. So everyone understands how we're doing. And that's every single one of my team members has access to our financial performance. So that's another thing. I mean, I just believe that if people have the knowledge and they know what's going on and they understand what we're going through, that they all line up and they all work a lot harder. So we are very blessed that people who've been at Bama since the 90s, and the new people that have come in, I think new people that come in have a more difficult time understanding why we don't compare, or why if I'm doing more work, I don't get more than this one or that one. But what I try to talk to them about is the opportunity to move to a different job. So if you're doing a lot of work, the opportunity you have is to move to a different job with a higher level of pay. And that is how we have operated the company now since the mid-90s.
It's obviously working, and working very well.
Yeah. I think it's working.
Who can argue? Nobody can argue. Okay, let's see here. If you were to talk to yourself when you were first starting out, what do you wish you would have known, and how would you have prepared yourself? So you got educated, it sounds like, but what else would you have done?
Yeah. Well, I think if I would have had the opportunity to do my personal mission statement earlier on in my career, I could have maybe avoided some of the personal issues that I had, where I went through a very ugly divorce, and it was because I wasn't balanced. It was because I didn't have my life in balance. And so I didn't realize that until too late, because in my family, the work was your life. You know, the work you do at Bama is your life, and kids will kind of like raise themselves, and everybody will end up being fine. And I realize now, because my daughters are older and my son is, 26 now, but I realize that that's not necessarily the case, that's not necessarily what happens. And kids get their feelings hurt and they end up, reaching out, and sometimes they get in trouble. And if you're a mom who's working, which I'm assuming most of you guys are, you have those guilty feelings and you have that push and pull from, from your children wanting you to do something with them, and you're torn because you really need to go to work. But I think there was a way that I could have probably balanced myself more. And I didn't really know that until I went through the divorce and I did the personal inside searching through myself and understanding that I had let my family down. And I vowed to change that, and I have changed that. So I, looking back, if that's one thing I could have done earlier in my career, it would have been to work on my life purpose and my mission statement and do the work that I later learned was very important to be centered and balanced.
Very good. Well, what is your mission statement? Tell us about your life mission statement.
Yeah, my life mission is to love and honor all souls every minute.
Nice.
So I boiled it down from lots of paragraphs and lots of writings over the time, but it's very important to memorize that mission statement. So it's very important that it's very short. And love and honor are the two most important words in that sentence. And every soul deserves to be loved and to be honored for who they are and what their approach to life is and what they're trying to do. And I really do try very hard to live that every single day.
It's very inspirational. It's very inspirational. All right. In the challenging environment that we're in today, let's see here, in the uncertainty in the future, what do you think are the most important things we need to be focusing on as women, as female entrepreneurs? What are the priorities?
Well, I personally believe that we should be doing more to help women with the amount of guilt you feel when you're working and the amount of guilt you feel when you're home taking care of your kids. So it's a feeling that never goes away. As far as I'm concerned, it's never gone away in all these years. And I wish there was more counseling available for women in companies. I wish companies did more for women to try to help that feeling. One of the best things I ever did was start the Bama Caring Center. And I started the Bama Caring Center in 2017 because we had a number of women dealing with, the prison system. They were dealing with, how to rise up, if you will, and take care of families, going through divorces, dealing with children that were in trouble. And so we hired a full-time psychologist and a full-time legal aid person. So I would tell you today, we've helped over 800 people in the company with everything from family counseling, divorces, grandparents wanting to adopt their grandchildren because the parents are not around, money problems, financial issues. I mean, all the things that people are dealing with, Bama has an ability to help them. And I really believe, and I've tried to say this, to a lot of my friends in business, is that if you offered more help to people and it was free, don't you think the emotional well-being that you would get from the team members would help the company profitability? And I think too many business people don't recognize the damage that's being done by all the pain, all the fear, all the guilt. Everything that's happening is definitely something that can be dealt with, and it's something that needs to be dealt with. And I don't believe people should have to go outside of their own organization to get the help that they need.
Wow. That's impressive. That's really impressive.
Well, when you think of it, we have about 900 people that work here in the U.S., and we have 700 in Europe and a couple hundred in China. And when you think of it, it's a very low cost to pay to help people with their emotional concerns, because when they come to work, all of their emotions come with them.
Right.
No matter who they are, or how big they are, or how much they know, or how much they don't know. I mean, like I said, I brought a lot of emotional pain and damage to my job because I was going through a lot of pain and emotional damage myself.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern was, if I'm going through all this and I can barely focus and barely concentrate on what I'm doing, how are other people doing it? And when you start talking to people, you realize they really do have a lot of pain that they're managing.
Mm-hmm.
So for a very small amount of money, we opened the caring center and we staff it, with 24-hour hotlines. And we take calls from people all over the world that we can help them with without them having to go and find their own counselor or their own this or that. And it's really helped us on the insurance side, on the cost side of people are getting off a lot of drugs. They're able to get off their stress medication, their cholesterol medication. I mean, all the things we've done with fitness, all the help and support we've done with teaching nutrition counseling and smoking cessation. I mean, we do A to Z, and people come from all over the world to our caring center.
Wow. Okay, so we've got a question here. Have you seen a return on investment, like a measurable return on investment for doing this?
Well, the thing you have to realize, and I have this question a lot, it's very difficult to measure these things because the pies were getting out the door before, right? So you have to want to do this work. And unfortunately, a lot of people who were looking for health and wellness, return on investment, spent thousands and millions of dollars on health equipment and haven't seen one penny of their health insurance benefits go down. Well, that's because there are other reasons that people don't go to health clubs, or there's other reasons that they don't want to, focus on that right now. So you really have to get to the core of what's going on inside someone and how they're feeling about themselves before you put a whole fitness center in and expect people to just go in there and use all that equipment. There's a lot of dynamics at play that play into people's health. Mm-hmm. And you've got to get to the bottom of what those things are, or you're never going to get people to get healthy.
It's interesting because I was thinking, as a female leader, you're more likely to think that way, I would imagine. It's
Oh yeah. I mean, people look at me like I'm crazy, when I go to CEO forums and things like that. But this is our philosophy. And what's interesting is a lot of people are coming over to this side of the ledger. A lot of people are coming over to find out from me, what are we doing? How did you start the caring center? How much room did it take? Did you have to have, and we had a building that we weren't using that much, and we went in and painted it and put some offices and some chairs and put some phones in and just said, okay, we're gonna get busy and start helping people.
Oh, that is tremendous. Okay. You do business with some of the largest companies in the United States. How did you get those opportunities? And do you have suggestions for women that are up and coming about how to play at that level?
Yeah, it's interesting because, my father made the cold call on McDonald's years and years ago, back in the 60s, way before I came on the scene. Mm-hmm. And he was, fortunate to be able to get with a company like that who valued suppliers, who valued what he brought to the table, and who wanted to grow with him. And they made significant investments in us, again, way before I came on the scene. So when I got there, they were very concerned about me and really didn't know me at all. And they're a very relational company. So we spent some time together learning each other, and they finally got comfortable that I was okay, that I was, knew what I was doing. But I think that relationship that was forged is very unusual, I would say. So a lot of us are dealing with companies that are tough, that want contracts, and I'm not going to say that isn't a good thing, because it may be in your case. I can't say for yourself, but I think what I've tried to do is take out things that cost, things that are wasteful, things that I have to charge the customer for that really is rework, waste, and scrap. And we've put this quality system in. We put this Deming system view in, and appreciation for a system in the middle 90s. And what it's done for us is allowed us to keep these giant companies extremely happy, and they never want to go anywhere else because the system is open. They can see it. They can come down. They can talk to my people. They go to the lines. People on the lines know what they're doing. So there's a training element. There's an element of engagement, involvement, that type of thing. And so I just want to say that putting out onto the market the highest possible quality of a product at the lowest possible cost, those are market economics that can never fail.
Right.
So if you have the highest quality product in your market at the lowest possible cost, you will never lose. If you have the highest quality at the highest price, you can be maybe that Mercedes or those, but you open yourself up to a problem when someone comes in cheaper and they can do the quality for cheaper. So I try to keep my costs low and my quality high. That's what I try to do. And that's my mantra. That's one of the things we've run Bama on for all these years. And that's one of the things that, it's part of the tenet of who we are.
Mm-hmm. Now you're already playing at that level, which helps a lot. Mm-hmm. If these women are trying to get in touch with these big companies and do business with them, any suggestions about how to do that?
It's very difficult. I will say most of my customers, Yum Brands has a diversity initiative. McDonald's, they have a diversity initiative. Mm-hmm. You can call up there and they will give you the names of the people, and you can start, you can try to get in. The products need to be fairly unique. They need to be something that they're looking for on the menu, or, a service or a computer or a technology. They bring on technology partners a lot faster than they bring on food partners. So mm-hmm. I can tell you it's really, whatever you have to sell needs to be unique and targeted at them.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So what did you learn over your life from your mother that was useful to you in business? And how about from your dad? What are the most important lessons you got from them?
I think I think I have a fair amount of both my mom and my dad in me. Mm-hmm. My mom was the Southern Belle. Her middle name was Belle, and my dad used to call her Belle. And she taught me to be a loving person, to not encourage people to be afraid to tell me things, to be approachable, to be trusted. And that's where a lot of my personal mission comes from, because when you honor someone from the beginning, you listen to them. To honor someone is to give them the benefit of hearing them and listening to them and helping them become who they want to become. So she taught me a lot of those things. My dad taught me a lot about determination and to never give up and always keep fighting and look for the bright side of whatever opportunity it is. Mm. And that's what I've tried to do. So I've tried to put a blend together of both of those characteristics. And that's my management style today. I'm not my dad in terms of management style. I am in terms of determination and drive and never give up. But I'm not in terms of the fear factor that he created in the company, because sometimes when he got angry, everyone was really, they froze. Yeah. And I never wanted to see that happen to people that I worked around. And I've worked really hard not to scare people and not to, have them be afraid.
Yeah, you're delightfully down to earth. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I want everybody to be thinking about their questions. Go ahead and put them in the Q&A box, and I'm going to ask one more while you do that. Okay, so when you hear the term work-life balance, I mean, you touched on it earlier. What comes to mind, and what do you do to stay as balanced as you can?
Well, work-life balance to me is that part of going back to your personal mission statement and going back to what you have passion about and what you have passion for, and being very clear about that. And, you know, looking at your life and trying to decide for yourself why you were put here. And I teach classes on this at Bama, and I can tell you without a doubt, most of the people that take my classes, when they get down to the root of it, their family is much more important than their job. They love Bama. They're happy about coming to work every day, but their family comes first. And I would say if you can get to the place where you can figure out, then you can start making decisions about, okay, I'll work at this place because I can have 8 hours and 8 hours and I can spend the rest of my time doing things with my family. If your number one goal is to pursue a career and become wealthy or whatever it is you want to do, which by the way, hardly ever comes up on any of my people writing their life mission statements. Mm-hmm. Wealth and having material things hardly ever comes up. So you dig down deep into yourself and you realize I've been working for all these things and it really isn't, it's not where my passion is. Mm-hmm. You know, my passion is watching my kids or being there for my kids, or so that will affect what kind of career you have, and it will also limit your potential to go up to the C-suite, because in the C-suite you have less and less family time and more C-suite. But at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do and that's where your passion is because you think you can affect the most people and you can do the most good from the C-suite, then by all means, you need to go there. But just understand that there's only 24 hours in a day and you probably won't be able to do everything. Mm-hmm. You will have to make sacrifices. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just make sure that it's part of your personal mission and you're part of your plan to make those sacrifices, and everyone around you knows it. So I think if I would have done this before, like I said earlier, had to go through a very terrible divorce. But if I would have maybe known and had been able to sit down with my family and articulate why I was so driven and why it was so important for me to come back into the company and take care of the business that we had, it might have been easier, you know, mm-hmm. might have not gone through that divorce. So it's something that I really try to get people to sit down and recognize what is your true passion and what is it that you're willing to spend time on and what is it that you're willing to give up.
Absolutely. I think that is so important. I mean, as an executive coach, I've seen people chase the latest fancy thing, you know, shiny job. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's not really what matters.
No.
Life is over. Mm-hmm.
No. It's great. It's great to know your personal mission statement and know your personal passion. And that can drive you to different jobs that maybe it's not that important of a job, but it affords you the time to leave at a certain time so you can go and be where you want to be, where you really want to be. Because at the end of the day, in a job, it's eventually we're going to find out that you really don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's going to come out. It's going to come out in your work. It's going to come out in your attitude. It's going to come out in, you know, how well you try to achieve things, how well you try to do things. And you'll be resentful and angry. So we can always tell when it's coming up for someone to decide that maybe Bama isn't the right place for them, mm-hmm. because their attitude shows, you know, it shows. And if you take the time to sit down and talk to people about this, you can never be too glad about having those conversations, because they will eventually come to the realization that they were not giving 100% and they were not proud of themselves either. Mm-hmm. So it helps to sit down with that person and figure out, you know, what they really want. And many times they will come to the realization themselves and tell me or tell one of my people systems guys, you know, I really don't want to be here anymore, but I was too scared because I need a job. And we'll say, well, let's work with you while you figure it out, you know. But if you're going to come in and stay here, you got to do the work, you know, you got to be on time and you got to do a good job, but we'll help support you while you go off and look for something else. So I think that's another part of corporate America that we kind of live with the fear, and we don't help people get out of it, and it causes a lot of issues with productivity, with you know, just the general overall environment that people work in is very difficult. If someone is a sour grape, it's difficult to work around that sometimes. So let's just get the sour grape in the room and get it all out in the open and find out what's going on, because typically they've made some decision internally and they're trying to figure out a way to work themselves out of it.
Wow, how insightful. I mean, I find a lot of managers don't deal with performance issues, and they get wrapped around the axle themselves about having the conversation, and how powerful it would be to have them know how to do that well. Everything. It's
really powerful, I can tell you. But when you come at it from the standpoint of we're here to help you, we're not here to tear you down, we're here to help you. And maybe one of the best things we can do is help you find another position. But you know, you've got to be clear about what you want to do here. And if you're only here because someone told you to come here and someone told you, you know, this is where you should be, but you're not feeling it, the most freeing conversation in the world is to actually get it out on the table and deal with it.
Yes. How powerful. My gosh. That's all right. That's really good. Really, really good. I wish more companies had that philosophy.
Well, you know, a lot of people tell me that too. And I say, I don't know why we don't. I mean, but it's because the fear is undealt with, you know, the fear to be free of whatever it is that's going on is not dealt with. It's never dealt with because people get ashamed, or they don't want to take the money and not do a good job, but they hate what they're doing. And so you really have to help them get to that place, because no one likes being there.
Right. And you're assuming positive intent, by the way, on the employee's part too, which
Yes.
I really love. Yeah.
Yes, because, you know, the old X and Y theory and the X theory about, you know, people are bad and they always come in and want to do wrong and their intention is to do wrong. The Y theory being people are always good, and they're, you know, it's not black and white like that. But
yeah,
too many of our, in my opinion, too many of our management structures today are still based on theory X, which means that everyone's bad. They come to work to do bad things. They don't intend to do anything good, and you have to watch over them and you have to shoot the rotten ones. And those are so outdated from back in the 20s and 30s and, you know, early 40s, maybe even in the 50s. A lot of them are military structures that were never meant to work in civilian life. Because command and control is also out the door.
Yeah.
So today we want to teach people to be their best self and come willingly and learn, and we will help them and teach them as long as they're willing, and as long as they have a passion for it. We're willing to put ourselves out there for almost anybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's fantastic. And by the way, people are saying, they're asking if we're recording this so they can listen to it later. So yes, I am.
Well,
yes, I am. Lots of great comments, and I'll get those to you.
I think it's another thing about women-owned businesses that I want to just put a plug in for women, that we desire to run our companies different. In our hearts, we have a passion to run our companies different. But the world out there is always telling us that we're wrong. The world is always saying, your philosophy isn't going to work. You're being too nice. You're being too compassionate. You're hiring too many of this or that or the other. And it's like, don't listen to that. Please don't listen to that, because it's not right. The young people coming up today in their 20s and 25 and 18 and 22s want to work somewhere where people care about each other. And that is the most important thing to them. They want to work somewhere that the company matters, that it makes a difference what they're doing, that we're helpful to the planet, that we're good to each other. We have great benefits, that we all work together to make profit for the company. And everyone wants to be a part of something like that. So don't listen to the naysayers who tell you you have to bring these systems in and rate and rank people and pay these bonuses and carve out somebody who's good and someone who's bad and rate and rank them and create a fear-filled environment. You do not have to do that. That is old school thinking. That does not work anymore.
Wow. Wow. People need this message. A lot of people need this message. They really do. Oh, let's see here. All right, you guys, please give us some questions here. Someone was asking earlier about your success sharing. Victoria was wondering if it's different than a profit sharing plan.
It's basically a profit sharing before the 401k. So the 401k is something that we have, that we contribute to, that everyone can contribute to. The success sharing is something we pay out. It's actually money that goes out from the company to the team members, and it goes out quarterly to our hourly folks and twice a year to our management folks. And those dollars are placed into a pool after we achieve a certain profit target. Those dollars are put into a pool, and all the money is shared equally among every management person and every hourly person. So no one is climbing over each other to get the most money. It's like, here's the money in the pool. Here's 500 people that are in it. We're dividing it like this, and you guys are all getting the same thing.
Okay, and it's not even a percentage. It's not the same percentage. It's the same actual dollar amount.
The dollar amount.
Wow.
Right.
Wow, that is different. Yeah.
Because we've already differentiated people by their pay, because we're on a market-based pay system. So the IT people are already making market rate. The quality people are making market rate. So everyone's already being compensated. Mm-hmm. So when we look at the team success sharing, it has to be equal. It has to be equal for everyone, because otherwise the system wouldn't work. It would break down, because the highest paid people would get the most money and the lowest paid people would get the least money. And mm-hmm. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a fair and equitable system for everyone.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, Alyssa's saying, I wish I'd heard this message back in my 20s. Thank you. All right, guys. Me too. All right, other questions or comments? Guys, put them in either the chat or the Q&A box. And then we'll wrap up here in just a minute. Okay, let's see here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask this call while they come up with questions. So what would you most like people to have learned from you today?
I think I'd love for people to learn that business can be done a different way. Mm-hmm. And that whatever your heart says, whatever you want to do, you should be able to do it. And don't listen to other people, and don't necessarily take everything that the business schools teach you and think that that's right. Because if you want to treat people differently, you can. You don't need the business schools to tell you how to do it. You can create a fair and equitable compensation system. You can stop rating and ranking people and create an environment of trust. You can do this. It's not in a book anywhere, except it's probably in the Dr. Deming books that you can buy online. But it's also in your heart, in your passion. What do you want to do with your company, and how can you make it better? And that's really what I hope everyone can get out of this, is that we don't have to run our companies like the old school, like the good old boys. We're women, we're nurturers. We can take care of people and get our business done and have fun and create joy in work, and everybody can make a great living. Mm-hmm. So it's not from a book necessarily. It's from your heart that you create your company and what you want it to stand for. And I just saw a question came up. It's Dr. W. Edwards Deming, Deming. Dr. W. Edwards Deming is my mentor, and how I've kind of fashioned the company after his philosophies.
How lucky are you? Oh my gosh, he's a world leader. You know what surprises me too is that he wasn't into rating and ranking. That piece of it surprised me, because he's all about numbers.
Right. He's a statistician, but he believed there were people in the process that come to work that just want to do the work, and they don't have any responsibility for the design of the equipment, the supplies and materials, the policies, and yet we blame them for everything that goes wrong. So management never has to be held accountable for the things that they're doing. So that's why I loved his philosophy, because I was like, yes, this makes all the sense in the world to me. And that's how we have set Bama up to operate like a Deming company.
How about that? How about that? Wow. All right. Other thoughts here? So any other questions, guys? Okay, I want to give them a second. You're shy today? All right. All right. Let's see here. So what actions do you want us to take after leaving the meeting today?
Well, I'm a huge supporter of personal mission statements. I cannot say enough that if you understand where your heart is, where your passions are, what your true north is, you will never go wrong, because you're being put in a position to know your place on this earth. And as human beings, we all love to know, what's my purpose? What's my place? What's my destiny? What am I doing here? And I can tell you, I didn't know all these things until I did my personal mission statement. And then I realized all the different stakeholders, all the different souls, all the different people that I come into contact with. And what my purpose was really to love and honor all those folks that I come into contact with. And once I can help them, they can soar. And that's the whole goal of being in a position like I'm fortunate to be in, that I can help people in that way.
Yeah. Do you have any resources to help them do that if they want to develop their own mission statement?
Well, Dr. Stephen Covey has a book called First Things First, and that's where you learn how to write a personal mission statement. That is a very important book to me, and that's something that I've shared and taught, and something I believe in from the bottom of my soul, because I believe if you don't do the work personally to really establish what your passion is and what you want to do in life, it's really hard to be happy. And so you'll always be pulled by all this guilt and shame and never being good enough, because you're never good enough at your job and you're never good enough at home. And so if you can find your true north, if you can work towards that and engage your family and involve your family in where you're going in life, then I think people will then do their own personal mission statements, and they'll learn from that, and you can just keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely. The ripple effect, right? It goes up. Yes.
The ripple effect. Yes. And I want to thank you. You've been a great host and encourager, and thanks for putting me on today.
Oh gosh, thank you. I mean, you can see the comments. I'm doing this for the recording, but people are saying, wow, just wow. What a breath of fresh air. Work joy, life joy, have fun, have a purpose. Okay, somebody's asking, what are your favorite 3 books? And then we need to close the show.
Well, obviously, I would put Dr. Deming on the top, and his methods for managing a business and with love and less fear. The second one would be the one I've talked about too, with First Things First. And then I wrote a book myself. I've written several. I see Jean Kelly's there. I know she's written several. But I wrote a book called The Soul of Big Business. And it's one of my favorites because it talks about how we can take businesses from being ego-driven to being soul-driven.
Oh, I'm going to get that. And I think somebody wanted your book signed. So we probably have some people that want your book.
I'll try to do that.
All right. Hey, I tell you what, if you guys, let's see here, what would we like to do about that? Whether they order it from Amazon and then get it to you to sign?
Yeah, and I have some books that I can send to you, and maybe you can distribute it for me.
Okay, I'll do it. Very, very exciting. All right, we've run out of time. You've been fantastic. I mean, very, very uplifting. I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, I want to remind everybody, please sign up for a directory listing if you don't have one. We do these calls every Friday at 10. Please let everybody know and share it on social media. And then I guess we're just totally out of time. So I'm going to say, remember, purse power, we have it. Let's use it. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.